Why you keeping me waiting? Been so long. Why you keeping me waiting? All you want is another from you, baby.
Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
To another episode of Superhuman Radio. I'm sporting one of Mark Bell's shirts. He's got some really cool sports attire there. Unless you've been living under a rock, it's undeniable that the male of our species, men, and I'm talking about men with penises, we are under attack. Quite frankly, we're also under attack by this new transitional gender phenomenon we're experiencing. But more importantly, more men commit suicide every year. More men are institutionalized. More men are addicted to drugs and alcohol. Men are really being destroyed today by our culture. We're going to talk about culture and its role in all of this. But more importantly, by the environment, pollutants in the environment. I did the first show I ever did about phthalates in 2007. Phthalates are an anti-androgen. They attach to the androgen receptor and they block testosterone from getting in. This has been going on for so long now, we're really starting to see some changes. We're going to talk about this today with Siim Land. He is a health and fitness researcher and writer. And we're going to explore if there's anything we can do about it. But we're going to share some really scary statistics with you today. I mean, people think, well, let me put it this way. The human race as a species will die off way sooner than the planet gets too warm or too uncomfortable to inhabit. And this is not me saying this. This is scientists saying it. But you won't hear this on the mainstream media because then they would have to be held culpable for some of their messaging that's gotten us to this point. Before we get started, I have to thank our title sponsor, and that is Legendary Foods. Legendary Foods, we've all gone crazy for the tasty pastry. This was a Pop-Tart reimagined. It tastes like real pastry. You think there's real sugar in it. They're so good tasting that you won't believe that there's less than 1 gram of sugar in a tasty pastry. 4 to 5 net carbs, 20 grams of high quality dairy protein. But now, and I'm hoping we're going to have some images very soon, but now Legendary Foods has led a new healthy snack called a sweet roll. Think of Cinnabon in the airport, but instead with less than 1 sugar. Yes, that's it. That's exactly what it is. It tastes like it. They have cinnamon, chocolate. Chocolate is iced with decadent chocolate on top. Berry. It actually has like jelly in the swirls. So good. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10 to not only save 10%, but let them know that you learned about them here on Superhuman Radio. And now I will bring my guest on.
Hello.
Welcome back, Siim. How are you? Yeah, hear you good.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm doing great, and I think it's been like in many years since the last time I was on. So
I think
glad to talk to you again.
2 years. So it's interestingly, something on Instagram says, does anyone else find it odd that erectile dysfunction pills are being marketed to 20 and 30-year-old men? I don't know. Now, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I had no 40s, 50s, even to today. But my point is, something's going on and no one's paying attention to it when you have to sell Viagra to a 30-year-old man. What do you think? And you posted something similar either that day or the day after. And I thought, I got to get Siim on the show and we'll talk about this.
Right. Yeah, I posted about just the overall the crisis of this male testosterone levels and sperm counts that has been going on for the last few decades. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty bizarre to think that like young men would need those kind of let's say other kind of performance enhancing supplements in the bedroom, for example. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it describes this overall trend that society is heading towards. That there is a mini crisis that many people don't know about and like don't really talk about it either.
And I want to delineate some things here. So right now, there's a portion of high-powered business people like Bill Gates who want to help depopulate. They're saying the population explosion is getting too big. And I'm going to say some things that are going to probably piss some people off. But erectile dysfunction and dropping spouts is a first world problem. It's not a third world problem. And you're going to learn why here when we talk about this and we unfold this. People living in countries where they can't feed themselves are spitting out babies left and right. No problem. But countries like ours in Canada, we are having problems. And this is why Bill Gates wants to help depopulate the world. He wants to depopulate a certain group of people in the world. And that is the people who can't produce for themselves. And so they have to be supported by everybody else. Because the reality is we have a population drop. We have new births in the United States has been dropping for 11 years now, except 2021, we had a spike, but that followed the lockdown. So everybody's home having sex all day long. Am I right about this?
Right. Yeah, there is like a demographic crisis in actually most countries of the world. Even like China has like a huge demographic crisis, and they will have like some real, like people shortages, for the lack of a better word, in like a few decades. And like Russia is also on the brink of like demographic collapse, especially with like young men. And most Western countries have, for the past few decades, have had population decrease in most countries, with the exception of United States. I think United States actually has, because of this like massive influx of immigrants and foreign people from all parts of the world. I think United States is still doing okay because just many people just influx to the United States, whereas in let's say more poorer countries of the world, which aren't necessarily United States, they may have like also some issues. But yeah, African countries and many like South American countries, they don't have many of these similar demographic crisis, at least like the same type of, they have like other problems obviously, but they don't have like this low birth rates obviously, with the exception of China, who was has like some issues as well because of the one child policy that they did for many decades in the last century. So they're still experiencing the kind of negative side effects from that. But yeah, I mean, overall, the population across the world is growing, but it's more of hitting like its peak. I think it's going to plateau out soon, and then
it's more about moving. from one continent to another continent that's stabilizing populations. But birth rates is the thing we have to look at here when we're talking about men's health, fertility, and where we can go. And while populations may be stabilized, because as you point out, the influx of immigrants from other countries, birth rates have dropped consistently for quite a long time now. And that's a scary thing, because these birth rates in the United States are dropping because of infertility, not because the government has said, hey, only one child a family because we're getting too populated. And when we talk about infertility, while infertility problems are shared in women, in the recent, since 1976, infertility in men has skyrocketed. It's continued to skyrocket. Spermatogenesis in young men is not happening. Sperm quality has dropped. In fact, I want to read something real quick. So there's a book called Countdown, and it's written by Shanna Swan, and she took a bunch of studies, epidemiological studies, but also research coming out of Mount Sinai Hospital in New York. Sperm counts have dropped almost 60% since 1973 and are projected to reach zero by 2045. If that doesn't send a chill up your spine, you're an idiot. Because everybody's worried about the planet's getting hot. We won't have to worry about it. We'll be gone. If we can't procreate, that's the end. That's the end of the game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a massive concern, but we don't know yet what the future will hold. Whereas, demographics, you can actually very, see the trend, the heading where we're heading, unless we're making unless we make some really big changes fast,
Right.
which I think is very unlikely. I think that the overall population in the world will decrease because of this current trend. I don't think that there is going to be like this, 20 billion people on the planet. I think there's going to be, it's going to stabilize around here. And because of the low birth rates, then there's going to come, multiple issues with that as well, as from a economic productivity side, likewise. But I mean, we can talk about, why that is, but the general trend is that the sperm counts have decreased by up to 60% since the 80s or after World War II, especially. This is where the trend began. The sperm counts have dropped and fertility rates by 50%, sperm count by 60%. Testosterone levels have dropped in men on average by 30% since the last century. So there are many things, and it's not not men and women, it's both. Both genders are kind of affected by that. So that just the overall sex hormone milieu has become worse over the past few decades, for sure, and it keeps getting worse. Actually, I think there's no signs that it has gotten better.
Dr. Daniel Lieberman has been on the show twice, and he wrote a book that everybody should read called The Story of the Human Body. He is a Harvard anthropologist. He's brilliant. He teaches, he writes books, very smart man. And he came on the show, he said to me, evolution is driven by culture. So I want to unpack this slowly, because the reality is that women driving these problems. And I know it's going to piss off a lot of girls out there right now, but looked at that like, oh wow, that's what cool guys look like. Are you having trouble hearing me?
Yeah, I had some chopping or something. I didn't hear all that what you said.
When Benetton was advertising in their campaign, they were the first clothing company to actually make boys and girls look the same, and that creates a shift in culture in young people's minds. They think, oh, boys are supposed to look like girls and girls are supposed to look like boys, and this. So one gets because the process of evolution gives women choice. There's an old saying: men pursue, but women choose. So back in the 1,000 years ago, men who were strong, who could fight, who could kill an animal and feed the child, feed family, who could build a hut to live in. That's what women wanted, because they wanted safety and they wanted security. But now it's shifted, and right now, young women want men who are feminine. They want girlfriends with penises. That's what they want. They want a guy who's not going to fight. He's not going to argue. He's going to roll over every single time. He doesn't have to be strong. He can be a wayfish looking. Want a girl, so they start to practice traits. They take on these traits. The man bun don't work out. I mean, we don't have to go into that. But the bottom line is, because women choose, men try to create what women want. So there's a feminizing effect in the United States today, and it's very, very dangerous. You want to pick up on that and speak a little bit?
Well, I think that obviously I don't think it applies to like all women. I'm pretty sure like many women still like like masculine men and stuff. Like my wife likes me being like a masculine dominant man. So general, I think that in overall sense that when it comes to like sexual selection, then let's say what is the meta of the current evolution? Like what is the best kind of adaptations and things that will like win the sexual selection depends a lot on the environment as well. And it's just that the environment that we live in today doesn't require the man to be, like the kind of like weightlifter or someone who is able to, build a house and stuff. Like you can just hire. And that's why like in the current like stage of our human evolution, we don't need those like, physical traits as much because the world is becoming more, we have like, construction workers, we have whatever, like robots eventually. So like we become less physical overall. We don't need to use our bodies that much. So it's just a natural trajectory of the human evolution that right now, or in the past, we had to build everything with our hands. We had to build the hut, we had to build the castle. But nowadays, like we don't need to do that as much. So the sexual selection also gravitates more towards the other things that are more required for that environment. So arguably, in our current environment, the more advantageous thing is to have like social status and money and resources, which doesn't require that much like physical prowess or this formidableness as it did in the past. So it's not that one is objectively better or the other. It's just that in the current evolutionary stage, or like the current sexual selection that favors those new adaptations, which may not be more suitable like in the past, but we don't know if it is more suitable in the future. I'm not saying that like being like a feminine man is better or worse, but it apparently has like some like a meta role or it like fits the meta of the sexual marketplace, if that makes sense. But that marketplace is also like very changeable and very subjective. It always changes. Like in Eastern Europe, like there is more traditional values, obviously. In Western Europe, or as well as like North America, there's obviously more liberal values generally speaking. So it depends on the region. I'm pretty sure like in China and like Brazil or Russia is a completely different story. Like there's still like this very traditional gender roles and stuff. So it depends a lot on just on like the environment in which those individuals are in, and they make their like decisions based on the environment and what is most suitable in that environment.
Yeah, I agree with you. And at the same time, I feel like the culture is shifting the values. There was a study done on women when the man bod became a thing. Some university did a study with women who said they like man bod, and then they were flash a picture up on the screen and they can tell where the eye went. And they said every single time the eye went to the guy who was muscular and fit looking before going to the guy with the man bod. And this is why culture drives women to think this is what they want. Culture,
Right.
you look every season, there's a new style, even though the old style wear the new style, maybe that doesn't look so great on you, but culture tells you this is what everybody's wearing. And culture has been co-opted because of greed. What people want to sell things. So we're being like, look at this. Do you know who James Cameron is? He did the movie The Titanic. You know who he is,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is what he said yesterday. Avatar director James Cameron says testosterone is a toxin and men must terminate from their system. Now, you and I know that this is a stupid thing to say, and it just makes me think, well, he makes good movies, but he's really not that smart of a guy. But some young men out there are going to read this, and he's part of the modern tapestry. He's a celebrity, and some women are going to read this, and they're gonna think, yeah, this is right. We need to get rid of testosterone. It's a problem. I mean, this is what I'm talking about when culture drives evolution the wrong way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, culture has a huge impact on that, and we can, like cultural. There is Richard Dawkins has this concept, the memes. So like a cultural gene, which describes these ideas and concepts and cultural values and things like that are non-biological. They're more like psychological and sociological. And like these different memes affect the direction of the genes or the evolution of the species. So of course those things have a huge impact. And many people generally base their values and their preferences on kind of what is acceptable in the social group and their environment. So in the current, and like you said, when women say that they value certain values like the man bun or the dad bod, then that's probably driven a lot by the culture and what they think is socially in right now, because I think women are more because evolutionarily women are supposed to be more like let's say more in the group, and they depend more on the group, whereas men are more like they can survive alone obviously, but they can't reproduce alone. So whereas women need the group for protection and survival overall, whereas men need the group only for reproduction. Which is why, because you can also see like in animals, like some lions are obviously in the group, male lions as well, but some of the male lions or tigers or whatever, they're also like alone sometimes. So
they're often alone. In fact, in the North American deer population, once a buck starts to grow his horns, and they call him a spike, the females kick him out of the group. The mother and the sisters, they kick him out of the group, and the male has to go out on his own. So but what I'm concerned about is that men are not only being attacked through culture and stupid people like James Cameron making stupid statements. I mean, that would be like me saying, you know what, you'd make better movies if you remove the brain. Well, I wouldn't be able to make a movie without my brain. But at least they want to start neutering us like dogs. But the other problem we have is a lot of these anti-androgens and hormone mimicking things in our environment that are also making men's testosterone and sperm counts drop, correct?
Yeah, that is one of the theories of why there has been such a decline in sperm count and testosterone. So these basically household chemicals, plastics, personal care products, just packaging, everything that has these plastics that they contain these xenoestrogens that mimic estrogen in the body and lower your serum testosterone and nitrogen levels and harm fertility. So that's one of the main theories of why there has been this progressive decline in fertility over the past few decades. I do think that it has a big role because before World War II, there was no plastics, or at least there wasn't any. People didn't use them in their everyday life, and just these petrochemical made plastics and stuff. There's a very new thing in our evolution, and our body doesn't really know how to deal with them, and hasn't developed as many when it comes to stressors. Then our body has developed a lot of stressors against UV radiation and cold and whatever other stressors. But these new man-made chemicals, we haven't just managed to build a lot of these antioxidant defenses against those things. I do think that it's a big concern, especially depends on the type, and there's different names for those. There's BPA, bisphenols, flame retardants, whatever. So there's thousands and thousands of them that you can get exposed to on a daily basis. And
right. Well, one of them that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, even BPA free. You have BPA free bottles. We just talked about it. So that even if it is BPA free, then it probably has BPS or something else that is as harmful. So you can't even trust. You can't. Yeah.
Well, the other thing that's interesting is Teflon, PFAS. They call them forever chemicals now, because once they get in your body, you can't get them out. They also are endocrine disruptors. People with cooking, some of that stuff gets in your food, you eat it. But also, people have to remember that anything that has fragrance, cologne, air freshener, the air freshener you plug into the wall, anything that has fragrance, the fragrance is encapsulated in phthalates. And phthalates are the biggest offender. I did that show. It was with the Population Council in Manhattan, New York. And they were talking about phthalates in 2007. They were saying saran wrap, flexible plastics, the stuff that they put in the grocery store, they wrap your chopped meat in, that has phthalates in it, and it can leach into the food that it's attached to. But now, phthalates are everywhere. You put the dryer sheets in your dryer, there's phthalates. You spray in your house, there's phthalates. You put cologne. I never put cologne on my body. I spray my clothes and let them sit for a while before I put them on. I don't put cologne on my. You're putting phthalates with alcohol. It's basically a transdermal phthalate preparation that you're spraying on your skin. It's going right into your bloodstream. It's horrible.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But
I want to take a quick commercial break.
Yeah, you can take. We can talk about it. No, let's talk about it.
Well, what I want to do is I want to take a break. There's a little latency in our connection. I want to take a break. When I come back, let's talk about what people can do to protect against this, because you have some good ideas I want to talk about. Okay, so stay with us. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/mypillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. There have been no real breakthroughs in resistance training for over 200 years. Whether it's pulleys or free weight, they all depend on gravity and the angles associated with gravity's effect directly on the weight. All of that has changed with the ARX machine. ARX stands for adaptive resistance. The ARX machine uses a 25 horsepower horsepower motor. You are literally fighting against a 25 horsepower motor. So every single rep is your 1 rep maximum at that moment in time. But ARX leverages another technique that has been known to produce rapid muscle gains and strength, and that is it leverages the eccentric or negative portion of the rep, which completely blows every other exercise and resistance training product out of the water. Go to shrnetwork.biz/ARX and discover the future of resistance training. Never before has a product been so appropriately named as Botanic Tonics Feel Free. This plant-based elixir combines a variety of different effective compounds, all from raw plant materials that at different doses provide you with completely different experiences. A third of a bottle puts you in the zone and makes you very focused and is ideal for a non-stimulating pre-workout. It also has a mild analgesic effect for us older lifters who have soreness and little pains and aches that keep us from training as ferociously as we want. A half a bottle will create a mild euphoric effect that will allow you to forego consuming alcohol, but still be socially lubricated and have fun. I have never had a product deliver on its name the way Botanic Tonics Feel Free does, and I won't ever be without it, and you shouldn't either. Go to shrnetwork.biz/feel-free and use the code SHR40 for 40% off your first order. I promise you, you will not be disappointed.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
P3OM from Bioptimizers is a patented prebiotic and probiotic supplement with Lactobacillus plantarum OM. It has now been upgraded to P3OM 2.0 with the addition of a superfood formulation that makes it 2 times stronger, as well as optimizes L. plantarum's strength. So it's more powerful than ever, which means that not only will it help you completely digest all animal proteins, it also reduces cortisol, causes deep relaxation and better sleep, and reduces stress. Go to shrnetwork.biz/P3-OM today and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off.
This is the Superhuman Channel, doing reps with the weight of the world.
Welcome back. Oh, I'm not back. Just my voice is back. There I am. You know, it's funny. I don't know if you know who Erin Brockovich is, but she is the reporter who blew the glyphosate Monsanto project apart. She's the one who brought glyphosate to the attention of everybody. And I get her newsletters, and this is her new mission. Her new mission is the drop in men's sperm count and testosterone, and it's all she writes about now. And she quoted a study where the same from Cedars-Sinai, where they said that penises are shrinking and testicles at an alarming rate. Like, we know that in aquatic life that live near factories, then the factories pollute the water with endocrine mimicking pollution. The aquatic life, they mutate where they have, like frogs, they have a penis and a vagina. Like they get confused. What am I, a boy or a girl? So we're on this track. I believe we're on this track. If people don't wake up and start paying attention, there's going to be a big problem with first world populations having babies. What can we do, Siim?
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, besides, the plastic and chemicals, there's just also been the general trend of unhealthy lifestyle. So like people are much unhealthier than they were even like in the 90s, and they're much more obese. They sleep less, they exercise less, they eat more junk food, and they get less nutrients, micronutrients, they get less sunlight. So all of those things are compounding. So it's not just like that the plastics and chemicals, it's just the entire entire bomb of the unhealthy lifestyle that has generally come about in the modern world. So we know obesity aromatizes away testosterone, obesity also reduces sperm count, and like even the excess weight and like obesity affects, or it's like, transgenerational, so that the overweightness of the parents also affects the sex hormones and fertility of the offspring, and that applies to also like the chemicals. So like if you, as a pregnant mother, are exposed to a lot of these, let's say, plastics and stuff, then has been found to be also found in the babies, or like the offspring. So there's like a lot of these transgenerational aspects, but like just people being much less healthier than they were in the past. So like body weight, excess body weight, not lifting weights, especially for men, and not exercising overall, not getting enough sunlight, which reduces testosterone levels, like poor air quality. Like in the cities, people do have like worse sperm count because of the oxidative stress from air pollution, smoking, alcohol. Like the list goes on of all the unhealthy activities that we know are bad for us are also bad for the fertility and testosterone and the sperm counts. So you just have to, what you can do as an individual is obviously just start with the things that you can control. You can't control many things. You can't control even like sometimes when you're in the airport and you're thirsty, then of course like drinking from the plastic bottle isn't going to kill you, or it's not going to be like a significant difference in your overall health. Whereas you can definitely control, that you exercise regularly, that you get enough sleep or try to get enough sleep, eat a good diet, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I'd say, really, like the first thing a man should do is reduce as much body fat as possible. And because that's going to raise, as you point out, aromatase siphons off testosterone to turn it into estrogen. And that has a double whammy. It's not only that your testosterone levels up, but your estrogen levels go up, and they influence where your body fat is stored. You'll see men who look like they have breasts. Bill Gates is one of them. He eats fake meat.
Right.
And so there's a feminizing signature to your fat storage as well. If in fact, once you get to a point where your testosterone levels have been siphoned off so great that you become estrogen dominant, and then you'll see that your butt starts looking like a woman's butt and your breasts start looking like a woman's breast. And and see, my frustration with culture is they tried to normalize it by calling it the dad bod. See, this is what's wrong with the mainstream. They
Right.
want to normalize stuff because nobody wants this. No one wants to have to say what the real problem is. You don't move enough. You eat the wrong food. You stay up late and watch Jimmy Kimmel when you should be getting your 8 or 9 hours of sleep. There's so many things that we do that are causing this tsunami of health problems, and no one wants to talk about it because average people don't want to be told, oh, you shouldn't smoke cigarettes. You really shouldn't eat ice cream cake right before bed. They don't want to be told that. So they pander to those people by telling them, it's a morning show suggesting that eating popcorn right before bed would help you sleep better. I'll never forget, it's probably about 10 years ago. People have no business giving advice about nutrition or health. They have no health. They have no nutrition. They shouldn't be telling people. It's like James Cameron. What does he know about endocrinology? Nothing. But yet he thinks that testosterone should be removed from people's bodies.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think James Cameron comes from the perspective that testosterone is like aggro. It makes men aggressive, and he would like to have the men being less aggressive and less like physically dominant and that kind of thing. I think he's a vegan as well, and that's kind of his worldview of creating like a more harmonious and less violent world, which actually isn't true. So when you look at what causes aggression, that testosterone, obviously, like if you take anabolic steroids, if you take like some trenbolone or something, then you will become super aggro. But overall, like testosterone actually makes you somewhat more grounded and more calm overall. Like for example, when you have like low testosterone, then those individuals generally are more like they're more vicious, or they're more like backstabbing, and they're more like nervous, they're more like on the edge all the time, and they like snap at you much more, which is coming from the low testosterone. The testosterone overall makes you actually more calm if you have like normal healthy levels of testosterone. If you have like super physiological levels, then obviously it can cause like some impulsiveness, but overall testosterone is actually much more calming, and the low testosterone is what causes
I have to disagree with that. I was going through a horrible divorce, one that you would expect someone to be angry about what was being done to him. And that was a period of time where my training was the heaviest and my drug use was, and I mean, I was taking 2 grams of testosterone a week. I was taking 400 milligrams of trenbolone and anthate, the longer lasting ester. I was doing 1,000 milligrams of Deca. I was doing orals. And you would think that I should have been a guy who flipped out, bought a machine gun, and went and and I was very calm. My perspective, roid rage, is supported by science. If you're an asshole, a beer is going to make you a bigger asshole. If you're an asshole, steroids are going to make you a bigger asshole. But you were an asshole to begin with. You know what I mean? Right. Anabolic steroids aren't going to make someone uncharacteristically aggressive. They're already aggressive, and there's been studies done on rodents, and I'm sure you've seen these. We talked about this years ago. So they took male rodents and put them in with the general population of other rodents. They gave the equivalent of 1,000 milligrams of testosterone a day, and what they found was they were not aggressive. Be aggressive occurred. They didn't take any time to think about it. They just snapped. They just went. So their ability to defend themselves was hyper vigilant, but they weren't aggressive. They put them in situations where they should have struck out at another rodent and they didn't. But then when they gave it pain, and it appeared to be that this other rodent was causing them, then they struck out, and they struck out very hard. So testosterone being blamed for aggression. And as you point out, you're right. Studies show that men with higher estrogen levels are the ones that are aggressive and moody and have tendencies to be bitchy. You're right. Mm-hmm. It's not testosterone.
Yeah. And, what is the most even if there were to be the case that let's say that testosterone doesn't make you more angry and aggressive, but it does make you more protective, or you're able to protect yourself more, which
more confidence.
Yeah, and the best deterrence against violence is the prospect of violence. Like, you wouldn't go aggro on a guy who is huge, or who's able to fight. And if we are in a environment where everyone is, let's say, not able to protect themselves, that makes them more vulnerable to be aggressive on. So that creates the environment where the people who want to take advantage of this, criminals and whatever, those will have a more easier time to make it happen, to be aggressive and violent. Whereas if you see that someone is jacked, or if they have a gun or whatever, and they're huge essentially, and they look confident, and they look like they have high testosterone essentially, then the prospect of violence against them is much smaller. So the best protection is having the prospect of violence, but not needing to use it. You don't want to use it, but if you have to, then obviously you will. That's kind of the best protection.
I was reading an article about how criminals select their victims, and they select them based on whether or not they think the victim has the ability and the strength to fight back. A criminal doesn't want to get into a fight. They want to steal something from you and get away. And if you look like somebody who's capable of inflicting pain, they'll leave you alone. And the other thing is this notion that today we become a more softer society where you don't have to lift or hunt, but you work for a company and you have meetings And when you get in the boardroom, if you're ripped and you're strong looking, you convey strength, you convey power. You're more likely to get a lot more done in the boardroom than somebody who's pudgy and fat and displays a lack of discipline and a lack of self-care. So, a lot of guys started working out because they wanted to climb the corporate ladder, and they know that their colleagues respect them because they're muscular and they look that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is some effect of looking like you lift. You have to look like you lift, so that people will respect you more generally. That's what I think also. Yeah, is of course there are people who think that you're like a meathead or whatever if you look like you lift, but generally, like deep down, they still respect you, or they at least they're not going to let's say look down on you or something like that. So they will still have some low level of respect, even if they think that you're like a meathead. But generally, most normal people will, at least they will maybe admire, okay, he takes care of himself, and he apparently has this, or most normal people know what it requires. They're not able to do it in terms of going to the exercise and to the gym regularly, so they do know it requires more self-discipline and maybe more willpower and those kind of things to make it happen. So of course.
Right. We're going to take our last commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to quote Jordan Peterson, because he basically says something that you just said. So, and then we'll wrap up the show. I want to find out what you're doing. Are you writing any books? Are you going to be on tour? Or we'll give everybody your Facebook, your Instagram page, because you have great, very short, hard-hitting information on your Instagram. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more. There are lots of concerns about food supply today. That's why you need White Oak Pastures. White Oak Pastures will deliver food right to your doorstep. You don't even have to go out and be disappointed by shopping in grocery stores. The finest beef, pork, lamb, duck, and more can be found at White Oak Pastures. And now they even have seafood. And best of all, White Oak Pastures has a negative carbon footprint, which means that you don't have to feel guilty for eating your ribeye. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 15% off. Merrick Health is a premium telehealth platform that connects customers with partnered providers from the comfort of your home. Merrick provides concierge service with your very own patient care provider as your health advocate. You'll go over all your needs and goals, from improving sexual function, hair loss prevention, increased muscle, fat loss, and overall improved performance. Prescribed treatment options can be ordered and shipped directly to you if you meet the requirements. All from the comfort of your home. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Merrick Health. That's MAREKHEALTH, and order your comprehensives and get 10% off with code SHR. Don't forget to add the lab analysis to have results reviewed with potential over-the-counter supplements or treatment recommendations. That's shrnetwork.biz/Merrick Health and use code SHR at checkout. Or order your own desired labs with code SHR and get 10% off your first lab order. I've said numerous times that Be Strong BFR bands are as effective, if not more effective, than anabolic steroids. And as someone who has used anabolic steroids for many years and used Be Strong BFR bands, I know what I'm talking about. You will see changes in musculature in days and weeks using Be Strong BFR bands, and without any of the risks to your health associated with anabolic steroid use. Go to shrnetwork.biz/be strong, that's BSTRONG, and use code SHR15 to save 15% off. I guarantee you will not be disappointed in the results of using the Be Strong bands. Check them out. Mado, spelled MADO, is the first energy drink of its kind, with a clinically effective dose of the strongest antioxidant in the world, milligram for milligram, astaxanthin, reasonable amounts of caffeine, and very low amounts of vitamin B6. Mado will not only energize your mornings, but protect affect your nervous system, the quality of your skin, and has been shown to preserve muscle mass. Go to shrnetwork.biz/motto, MADO. Use code SHR for 10% off. Plus, order 2 cases or more and get free shipping. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
So last week, I paid to have fiber optic put in this office. And the latency in my internet connection is worse than when I didn't have fiber optic. This is ridiculous. I'm struggling to get the show produced. Banners won't change fast enough. There's a latency between what you hear and what I hear. I'm so angry at Spectrum. It's ridiculous right now. As soon as this show is over, I'll pick up the phone. And what's that?
I think it might be my problem because it's like a snowstorm here right now, and I'm in the middle of the Baltic Sea on an island.
No, but it's not your fault because I use StreamYard, and it's a cloud served product, and what I'm doing on mine is not affected by you. And what I'm doing on my end is, and I'm looking at my internet connection fluctuating. It was not supposed to fluctuate. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm waiting for the show to be over because I want to call them and go, why did I pay all this money? This is worse than I had before. So, you write pretty regularly. You've written any books? I forget.
Yeah, well, I have maybe 6 books. And I have another one coming out in a few weeks. Probably it's called The Collagen Cure. So it's about collagen. I have a lot of co-authored books with Dr. James DiNicolantonio. So he wrote The Salt Fix, and we've written 4 books together with him right now. And the 5th one is coming out in a few weeks.
Yeah, he's been on the show a couple times. He's a great guy. And I met a doctor somewhere. I don't remember, some conference I was at, and we started talking about salt. Oh, no. I had a doctor on the show talking about sodium, some recent research. And I asked him if he was familiar with Dr. James DiNicolantonio, and he tried to play it down because, DiNicolantonio was telling people salt is not and it has an important value. And a lot of the stuff he's talking about is right, but I think the medical orthodoxy is afraid of what he's talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in certain situations,
do you travel? Yeah. Do you travel and do lectures?
I do some speaking engagements every once in a while. I don't do any tour. I haven't done any a tour thing. Right. I will be in the US in January, so I'll be in Puerto Rico as well as Austin, Texas for a few days. So that's the the last time I was in US was 2019, I think.
And so, what in Austin, is that where the paleo conference is? Is that where you're going to?
No, I don't think so. Or they don't have it in January. They have it probably April. I'm going to check it out, and I'm doing some a business meeting in Puerto Rico, but in Austin I'm just gonna check it out. I haven't been there before, so
very cool. Well, the bottom line of this interview is to discuss the realities of men's plummeting testosterone and sperm counts, and make people aware. Look at your environment. Don't spray cologne straight on your skin. Don't put air fresheners and spray air freshener in your house. Try to cut back on your exposure to phthalates. Do some do some research of your own on phthalates and see where they are and in what quantities in your environment. And this is especially true of young boys. If you have young boys in the house, make sure you get plenty of fat in your food. Animal fat, saturated fat is not bad for you. You know, make sure you get real fat. Oils are not fat. They call them fat, but they're not fat. Tallow is fat. Lard is fat, and animal fats are fat. Any other tips you want to give people to steer clear of this problem?
Yeah, I mean, you want to get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Do some regular weightlifting. At least 3 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week at least. And one thing actually that is like a very big contributor, or like that decreases the sperm count very fast, is heat on the testicles. So like crossing your legs when you're sitting is going to heat the testicles.
Mhm.
Saunas, that generally do have like a lot of health benefits and reduced mortality risk. Like the heat on the testicle definitely does shut down the spermatogenesis, and the sauna was used as a contraceptive in the last century as well. So as a man, if you are taking the sauna regularly, then you want to like cool down the testicles as well, like after the sauna. So like cold water on the testicles, or use an ice pack or something like that.
Mhm.
And don't use these briefs or whatever, like the triangle
Yeah.
boxers. Don't use like very
Yeah.
tight underwear. Don't use a tight or very like hot sheets when you're sleeping. Like, because if you're like 8 hours under a very warm blanket, then your testicles are gonna get overheated quite a lot.
Right.
Very, very long endurance. So like hours and hours of cardio decreases also sperm count and testosterone. So yeah, like just overheat on the testicles is also very important. And you can use like ice packs. There are like recently very popular cooling down the testicles with the ice packs. I actually helped to like co-author a Vice article as well about cooling down the testicles. So there are actually a few studies that show that the cooling down the testes does help with sperm count slightly, although obviously it's not like as important as sleeping or exercising.
Good tips. Yeah, these are good tips people can do, and lose weight, lose body fat. Start focusing on your diet and lose body fat. I also think that eating either keto or ketocentric or carnivore centric. I'm not anti vegetables. I love broccoli. I love green beans, but I think that eating a predominantly animal based diet is going to enhance testosterone levels as well. Don't be afraid of cholesterol. Cholesterol is very important.
Correct.
Siim, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Oh, wait, you were going to say something.
I was going to mention that they do find that the like upper limit for fat intake is like 35% of calories. That they see that like maximizes the testosterone production. Like if you get more than that, like 80% or 50%, then you don't see that more of a testosterone boost. So you want to get like adequate amount of healthy fats, but you don't need like a super high fat diet for that. You need to get at least like 35% around that to get the benefits on testosterone.
So Aiden Ray says, what about the soaps, the residue with dishwashing or dishwashers? Any input? One thing I know is people who wash their dishes by hand have a much more diverse microbiome, and that was shown in a study. If you're using all these soaps have fragrance, that's the problem. The fragrance is the problem. Most soaps, saponification of fats is how they make soap, but then they add fragrances to it, and the fragrances is where, unless they're using natural like oil extracts, or of clove or peppermint, try to stay away from what's the purple flower that everybody likes to smell before they go to sleep? And I can't think of it. But anyway, but lavender is highly estrogenic, very, very estrogenic. So use that limited, but make sure that fragrances in your soap are coming from oils, and not chemicals. That's an important one right there.
Yeah.
What about dishwashers? There's anything you think there's anything going on in your dishwasher detergent?
Well, I mean, I don't think so. Like, I think the dishwasher probably rinses the dishes with clean water as well. I'm pretty sure. So I don't think it matters.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right, that's it. Be men, stay strong. And Jordan Peterson says a weak man is not a good man. A strong man who doesn't use his strength is a good man. If you can't hurt somebody, you're not a good man. You're a good man if you can hurt somebody, but you choose not to. And I think that that's really a wise statement. Really a wise statement.
Yeah.
Get
it
strong,
has,
stay strong.
merit.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Siim, take care. Have a good holiday. Merry Christmas.
Yes, you too. Bye-bye.
Take care. And we'll see everybody tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio.